My name is Mark Goldfarb. I'm the rabbi at Temple Beth Or in La Mirada, California, where David and Heather and family were members of our congregation. We come together this afternoon as a family of mourners to honor the life and the memory of David Kaplan. We are saddened, deeply saddened by the death of this giving man, a hardworking man, a loving son, brother, husband, and a playful father, a provider for his family, a dear friend to so many, a man with a plan who worked hard to make his dreams come true. We are in shock today that such a good man was taken from us in the prime of life. Our world has turned upside down, and we struggle to find our footing. Truly, we have entered that deep valley of darkness and feel as if we are living a nightmare, hoping to awaken to the light of day. Our ancestors turned their eyes to the mountaintops in hopes of finding strength and courage to face tragedies, and learned that such help does not come from on high. We too search for help and guidance as we stumble in the valley of the shadow of death. We seek the light that will dispel the darkness that has overtaken us. Let us find it in the love of family and friends and in those who gather by our sides. Let us find that strength in the sources of healing that are implanted within all the living, in the mind that conquers infirmity and trouble. And may we find through your eternal presence, O God, the strength to endure what cannot be escaped, and the courage to go on without bitterness or despair. This is a time of memory. Wounded by loss, we retreat from life. Here, we gather to share stories and prayers and unanswered questions. We share tears that need to be shed. We recall a life now carried within us. Moments of courage, laughter, and pain. We embrace them all. Our hearts open in sorrow. We are all time's subjects. And all that we love, we must surrender. So let us hold fast to the love that remains and cherish the light of the sun even while walking through this valley, the shadow of death. Today, we all walk the mourner's path. We who remember are artists. We are aerialists on a swinging trapeze, letting go of one ring to catch hold of another. Hold on and let go. A subtle duality that endows our life with meaning, neither denying the past nor foreclosing the future. We are part of the flow of life, the divine process which gives and takes, creates and retains. We too must give and take. We too must seize hold and release. Rabbi Alvin Fine wrote, "Birth is a beginning and death a destination. But life is a journey, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness, back we pray, to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but rather in having made the journey stage by stage, the sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination. But life is a journey. Sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. As we have learned, life has different plans for us, and even nature has a way of throwing itself at us at this most difficult time. I'm sorry for the shattering of the picture. I only had a short time to get to know David, and there is so much more to him than those few years. I'm grateful to Jeff and Anna, Heather, Gabby, Lily, Georgette, David's cousins, and others who shared so much about their son, their husband, their father. And I'm grateful for those who are willing to speak during our service here and invite others to share more memories during the meal of condolence following our service. David was born on July 18, 1987, in Highland Park to Jeff and to Anna Kaplan. He is one of 3 children born to the Kaplans and is survived by his parents and by his sisters Lauren and Sarah. As we will hear, David was a man with a plan and worked hard to make those plans real. Dedicated to being an Olympic ice skater, he and his parents were up at 3 a.m. for trainings and practice, all before going to school. Then there was all the national and international champions, where his skating competence and skill would earn him medals and awards, but where his gregariousness would provide him with his biggest honors, longtime friends. Whatever project David took on, he did so with all his being. In marching band, going from playing saxophone to the drum line, not your usual progression of instruments, woodwinds to percussions. Working at In-N-Out, or on his first car, or at Disney. His drive and his discipline would enable him to attain a lifetime goal of working with American Airlines. He would marry Heather Lilly. They both knew each other from childhood, having grown up skating and moving in each other's circles, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, holidays. Like 2 rivers emerging from a single lake, David and Heather's life took different courses for a while, only to flow together again. And David was able to fulfill another of his life's goals, to become a father, to create a family. Heather's son, Miguel, became David's son, whom he loved deeply. And David and Heather would add 2 daughters to their family tree, Gabby and Lily. Like a river, relationships brings with it smooth waters as well as turbulent rapids. David and Heather separated for a while, which makes his death all the more tragic, as he and Heather had come back together and were working to rebuild their family. And it is to the family that I now turn. Instead of sharing memories as an echo, let's hear from those who knew David best. I begin with David's cousin, Danny Morlett.
I don't know if I'll be able to get through this very well, but don't judge me for reading. These last few days, with all the time that I've had to sit and think, I constantly find myself thinking of a quote that just hits hard and true. I wish there was a way to know when you're in the good old days before you've actually left them. I've been blessed to grow up with David and all the cousins, and I would like to say first and foremost, it doesn't feel real, and I don't think it ever will. I have fond memories of the sheer excitement my brother Sergio and I would feel when we would visit Nini's wedding in Lulu, because we'd always have a lot of fun. It was always an adventure. My greatest memory was when my Tia Magani took us on to learn how to ice skate. I was absolutely horrified. But David made sure, he told me he was going to teach me the right way. But it was his way, of course. He spun me around in circles and was laughing hysterically. But all joking aside, after the laugh, he took his time and taught me how to balance and stride. See, that's the thing about David. He always had a way of having an influence on everyone he encountered. He was a man of love, and he felt it with every embrace. And he knew when he loved something, he gave his all without end. I always knew and continue to know that whenever I saw him, it was like we never skipped a beat. I wrote a short poem for him and want to thank you all for listening. We wake to the rays of the rising sun shining upon our very face. A chance to prosper, an opportunity to welcome life's embrace. We grow fonder by the sight of love, for our eyes see the beauty within, not looking past the moments that lie ahead, nor thinking of what could have been. Taking each step as time shall pass, learning and enhancing our taste for being, as nothing is guaranteed beyond this notion, yearning for what more this life may bring. Night comes and day fades. We must always take stock and make amends, because most that we have isn't truly promised, only true unconditional love until the night ends. David, my brother, my primo, I will always miss you and live my life as you loved, wholly. Thank you, everyone, and never forget to spread love.
Thank you, Danny, very much for sharing heartfelt words and a moving poem. I continue as I invite Tia Huera, David's aunt, to share a few words.
I miss Tia Huera. Not through blood, nor through marriage, but 47 years ago, we met Anna. And we became family through love. And that is how I became Tia Huera, Tueto. Most of us have been to Disney or have read a fairy tale. There will always be a hero. The hero of our story is full of energy, adventure, honoriness, stubbornness, loyalty, giving, looking for love, and always with a smile as big as a mile. This is Peter Pan. David is our Peter Pan, flying high on life. When Sarah and David each turned 13, I took them to Not Scary Farm, where David would chase off the monsters from Sarah and I. At Disneyland, when he woke up in my arms at 2 years old, we were flying on Dumbo. And he was amazed, and I think hooked. When David, with such pride, said to Grandma Chahiki, "I'm going to be a father." "Look at me, Grandpa Gary," my father, as he leaped into the air and clicked his heels as my father had taught him. These things remind me of the quote in the movie Field of Dreams. James Earl Jones said, "We just don't recognize life's most significant moments while they're happening." Well, there will be other days, and we didn't realize that that was the one moment. All of us here today, we all have those moments. Cling to them with a smile. How lucky we are to have had him in our lives. The loss of David leaves a tremendous hole, and it's doubtful it can ever be mended. I'm his Tia Huera. He's our widow. He's our hero. And he'll always be our widow.
Thank you, Tia, for sharing such wonderful words. I continue as I invite Georgette Lilly to share some words from her daughter Heather, words from David's wife.
Again, after our one time together on the ice as children, you met me at my sister's house and we went out dancing and talked for hours. That night you gave me a kiss on the cheek and I walked home hoping I would see you again. We started to date and quickly fell in love. Not only did you have room in your heart for me, but for our son. He came and soon out of Gabriella and then Lois. I feel privileged to have had you as my husband, friend, and father to our children. We have not always seen eye to eye, but our love for one another allowed us to rebuild our family and show our children what true love means. I promise to keep your memory alive and make sure the kids never forget the father they cherish. Cherish them and made them feel special. Gabby will always remember she is silly like you and is a social butterfly like her father. How you would tickle her till she tooted, and we would all laugh till we had tears in our eyes. Lily will know that she gets to her craving for steak from you and loves to dance like her dad. Miguel will remember how you both love the same type of music and how you taught him about cars. I will raise our children like we had wanted and stay strong knowing you are watching over us. I know that you love us. I love you, David Kaplan.
Thank you, Georgette, and thank you, Heather, for such powerful words. I invite David's mother, Anna Kaplan, to share for you.
Increíble que se nos ha ido mi güero. Estuviera ahorita riéndome, mami, estás loca porque traes mi chamarra puesta. Y aunque hace calor, no siento el calor. Siento que mi güero me está cuidando del cielo. David tenía una sonrisa que a todos les encantaba y hacía amigos con todos al verlo. Y ese mismo día que conocí a alguien, inmediatamente me decía, mami, es mi amigo íntimo. Y dije, pero bueno, ¿lo acabas de conocer? No, pero mami, sí nos conocíamos, fíjate que sí. Dije, pero ¿cómo, papá? Si estamos en otro país. No, mami, sabemos todo de cada uno al otro. Era este güerinche, era todo. Y toda su vida, siempre tenía unos sueños que él iba a lograr. Y sí lo hizo. Empezando de chiquitín y del tamaño de mi nietecito, que se parece tanto a él. Empezó a patinar y me dijo que algún día iba a ir a las Olimpiadas. Y me muero, sí lo logró. Esa fue la última competencia, una competencia que para él ya había logrado sus sueños. Y todo lo que quería, siempre lo lograba el güero. De luchador, siempre. Tenía que trabajar 2 o 3 trabajos, pero sí lo hacíamos. Todo lo que él quería, logramos. Porque éramos unidos de familia, éramos equipo. Y aquí están todos los del equipo, varios, creo, de todo el país. Tenemos amigos de Europa, tenemos amigos de donde teníamos sus competencias. Y hasta la fecha estamos en contacto con gente de todo el mundo. Porque ese güerinche, aunque era travieso, tremendo, siempre lograba la sonrisa y apoyarnos. No importaba quién tan solo se sentía uno, con sus abrazos tan fuertes, con tanta compasión. Salíamos con una sonrisa de alegría. Y el güero, aunque güero estaba mi hijo, blanco, ojos azules igual que este. Íbamos a restaurantes y hablaban de nosotros, esos americanos, cómo están comiendo. Y ya que terminamos de la merienda, lo que sería, el güero volteaba y decía, buen provecho. Se les olvidó que yo también soy uno de ustedes. El güero quería a todos. Todos eran sus amigos. Gente que apenas acababa de conocer. De American Airlines. Me dijeron, solo tenemos un año con el güero, pero parece que lo he conocido toda mi vida. Y es que así era mi güerinche. A todo el mundo quería, a todo el mundo le daban sus brazos, a todo el mundo quería apoyarlos. A sus compañeros de la universidad que tenían problemas, que no entendían cómo hacer la tarea. El güero me hablaba a las 2 de la mañana. Me decía, mami, no voy a venir solo, ahí vamos. Bien, mi vida. Pues es que no entendemos la tarea, pero queremos hacer la prueba porque es mañana. Ay, mi hijo, todo el último tiempo, güerinche. Todo el último tiempo. Pero sí, mamá, dime, claro, mijito. Y terminamos en fiesta, a las 4 o 6 de la mañana. Se levantaban, iban a la escuela, todos regresaban a celebrar que habían sacado el mejor grado. Y el güero, como siempre, lo graba. Me decía, mami, lo hice por mis hijas. Lo hice porque algún día les voy a dar todo lo que ellos querían. Y sí, él les dio de todo y más. Y esas memorias quiero tener para el güero, de que nadie sabía, pero jugaba tenis, todo lo que yo que quisiera, él lo hacía, pero su pasión siempre fue el patinaje, le encantaba el patinaje. Yo creo que por viajar tanto, y hasta la fecha andaba viajando, siempre decía, mami, ¿y ahora a dónde vamos? A donde tú quieras, papito, porque siempre nos acompañamos uno al otro. Y mi hermana Yolanda siempre lo apoyaba. Vino con nosotros a Italia, Alemania, Francia, con el equipo de patinaje, por todos lados. Y se los agradezco que todos están aquí como familia. Es tan difícil despedirme de mi güero, que no me puedo despedir, jamás me voy a despedir. Esto es uno de los panteones en donde yo trabajo. Es el más bonito para mí. Aquí tengo la propiedad para todos mis hijos. Y voy a venir diario a saludarlo, a acompañarlo y recordarle de sus niñas, mis nietecitas que son adoradas y que hablan tanto de su papi y lo seguirán porque lo adoran a su papá. Y ellos eran la adoración de él. Hacía todo por estar con ellas cualquier minuto que no tenía que trabajar. Y aunque trabajaba, hay veces hasta 20 horas al día, llegaba a jugar con las nenas y estaban conmigo. Y siempre me dijo que se las cuidara. Y espero verlas y estar con ellas, así como ellas quieren estar con nosotros también. Todos somos familias unidas y vamos a seguir unidos. Quiero que nos acompañen todos para la recepción. Mis sobrinos todos traen la camiseta de In-N-Out porque el Mariche trabajó allí 12 años. Le encantaba el In-N-Out, el Flying Dutchman, el 4x4, el Surprise. Éramos claro y Surprise, íbamos a traer el troque de In-N-Out, pero parece que como se podía. Pero dijo que si iba a tener recepción, yo quería tener su segundo, su taquero. Espero que nos acompañen todos para estar con el taquero favorito del güero. Y puedo compartir las buenas memorias de mi hijo. Que los quería mucho a todos ustedes. Gracias por su apoyo.
Thank you, Al. Words that come from the heart go to the heart no matter what language they are spoken in. We recall David's love of family. We recall David's dedication to work. We recall as well that David was a hugger. And on the receiving end of David's hug, you knew the meaning of a real good hug. We learned that David was always thinking of others, always wanting to help, to watch out, to protect. He was driven. He was courageous. He was a playful and an amazing father. Dedicated co-worker, mechanically minded in ways that usually are not bestowed upon Jewish men. his skills, his talents, his sense of humor. All of those items are but a facet of the gem of the man that was David Kaplan, a gem that has been entrusted to our hearts and to our memories. Judaism teaches us that death is part of the fabric of life. But when death comes, it tears at that fabric and leaves us all with a wound in our hearts. Indeed, each of us carry that tear on our hearts. But our tradition teaches us that it is the immediate family members, parents, sibling, spouse, children that feel and bear that in a very intimate way. As a symbolic way of showing that pain, that wound that David's death has left on their hearts, family members have ribbons, and I have a few more. Lauren, Sarah, for you, and Hannah. I'm going to ask you all to stand, family members with a ribbon. Lauren, you're here. Sarah, Hannah, Jeff. Ask you to repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Notea Letachenu Hayeh Olam. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, source of all being, who created and nourished and sustains us, and who has implanted within us immortal life. Although David is no longer physically with us, he will always be a part of us, the good deeds he performed, and the many ways in which he touched all of our lives. We remember and we reflect and we cherish this gem of a man, David Kaplan. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember David. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember David. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember David. Rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember David. And when we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember him. So long as we live, so too shall David live, for he is now a part of us. Merritt Malloy wrote, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children, and to old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words, better than sounds. Look for me in the people I've known and the people I've loved. And if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." There are two traditional prayers we share in Judaism at funerals. I share one of them now. It's a prayer known as the El Malei Rachamim. It speaks of God as a compassionate being. And yet it is a prayer that we share at the most painful times of our lives. At funerals and at memorial services, when we hurt and when we ache and when we are in pain. It seems odd to share a prayer about a loving and compassionate God when we are overcome with such painful and strong emotions. And yet there is wisdom in our tradition. For the opposite of love is not hate. Ask any child, parent, spouse, partner, sibling. The opposite of love is apathy. And where there's apathy, there is no loss, there is no grieving, there is no pain. But neither is there any love, or joy, or laughter. We live in a world blessed by God's love. And as such, we live in a world that is filled with these powerful and painful emotions. And yet it is that very love that can help us transcend the distance we feel from our departed, from David, and keep them alive in our hearts and in our memories. At the conclusion of this prayer, we will move the casket out of the way. Judaism teaches us that nothing in this world is hidden from our sight. We share intimately in all aspects of life, as much as we would like to hide from some of them. The casket will be moved away, a device will be brought in, we will raise the casket, and we leave this task not to strangers, but share intimately in the process of bringing our loved ones to these sacred and these hallowed grounds. And so the casket, in a rather cumbersome way, with this device, will be raised and will be positioned in the wall behind us. As a tribute to David's memory, to all the love that he brought into this world, I invite us to rise as we are able. The El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim shochein b'amrumi Amzei menucha nechona tachat kanfei hashchina V'ma'alot kedoshim v'toharim Kizohar harakia mazirim Et nishmat David Meir ben Yitzchak Yaakov v'Ana shehalach la'olamo V'gan Eden tehi menuchato Ana ba'al harachimim Astireo b'seter kanafecha le'olamim Utzvor b'tzvor ha'chaim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato V'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo V'nomar amen compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved David Kaplan, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence. And there in the shadow of your wings, let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May David rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. We may be seated. Representative from Forest Lawn, we are ready for the transitions over there. Oh, here they come.
Please gather the pallbearers.
With nothing hidden from our sight, we get to see all of the intricacies, those smooth and less smooth intricacies of life. I can't help but think that being mechanically minded, as David was, he might find this process entirely fascinating. Would probably offer to help.
Yes.
In Judaism, we try to root ourselves to the earth in many ways. When we are born, we celebrate our connection to nature, parents, often plants, trees. The time of the wedding, oftentimes the chuppah, the marriage canopy, might be made from the branches of those very trees. At the end of our lives as well, we try to connect ourselves to the land that gave us life. So family members who would like to sprinkle some dirt on the casket, or perhaps a flower if you would prefer, I invite you to do so at this time. sins and given by our longing. Each of us has a name given by our enemies and given by our love. Each of us has a name given by the source of life and given by our parents. Each of us has a name given by our stature and our smile and given by what we wear. Each of us has a name given by the mountains and given by our walls. Each of us has a name given by our enemies and given by our love. Each of us has a name given by our celebrations and given by our work. David was known by many names. He was son and brother, husband and father, cousin. He was colleague and co-worker. He was ice skater. He was jokester. He was all of those names and so much more. And each of those names have been entrusted to our hearts and to our memories. We say shalom and not goodbye. For shalom is goodbye and hello and wholeness and peace all threaded together in one breath. And in one breath, we too say goodbye to a hand to hold, a kiss, and a tight embrace. And in the same breath of shalom, we say hello to an ocean of memories and a rush of emotions, gratitude and sorrow, tears and laughter, trembling and fatigue, all in one breath. The final prayer we share, which is shared at every funeral and memorial services and at the end of our worship services, when we recall those members of the community who have died, is a prayer that never mentions the word death or grief or mourning. It is instead a prayer that acknowledges the great mystery at the heart of life, that our paths of life crossed that of David Kaplan, and that in those moments we lived and loved and laughed and learned. It is a prayer that began with our rabbis at the conclusion of a tractate of the Talmud, a book of the Bible. They would share this prayer, acknowledging that great mystery, that their lives likewise came together for brief moments, and not knowing when or how their paths might cross again. They just shared this prayer, which basically says, God, you are beyond our understanding, but we will try to understand. Like our rabbis in David's presence, we learned, we laughed, we argued, we debated. We shared in life and acknowledged the great mystery that we were able to, for those brief moments, spend time with David Kaplan. As a tribute to his memory, I ask us to rise as we are able for these words of our Kaddish prayer. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'vizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevarach, le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitvarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei d'kudasha b'richu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tush v'chata v'nechamata da'miran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May all of us who mourn and all of us who are bereaved, may we find strength and courage from those who gather by our side. And may we find through God's eternal presence a source of hope, a source of shalom, of peace. And let us all say, Amen. This concludes our funeral service for David Kaplan. You are invited to join with members of the family for a meal of condolence, an opportunity to continue telling the stories about David, the way in which he touched all of our lives. Lech l'chaim, lech l'shalom. The psalmist writes, go forth to life, go forth to peace. Having brought David to this hallowed ground with all the love and the honor that he deserves, now we tend to the wounds of the living as we bind them up with words of comfort and stories about David. This concludes our funeral service.
Ladies and gentlemen, just as the rabbi mentioned, we do have a reception plan for David. For those of you that would like to attend, if you're not sure where the reception is located, if you look to the left of me, there's a tower. It's in our mission room, so you have to get back on San Antonio, go to Cherry, turn right on Cherry. It's the first entrance on the right. You'll see the mission. Once again, you want to get on San Antonio, go to Cherry, right on Cherry. The first entrance on Cherry, you'll see the mission room. That's where the reception is located. Thank you all for coming.
Ready? Lean forward, okay? No, backward, forward.